welcome to this episode of Misdeeds of Love. Today we're going to talk about abuse in the physical sense. I feel like it's important to have this topic because there are so many women and men being abused, and they possibly don't have any idea on what to do. I feel like, um, let me just say this. When this happened to me, I had no clue on who to go to. I didn't know what to do. I was embarrassed. And I put up with a lot of things for years for that reason. I know that may sound ignorant to individuals that don't understand, but when you're in that situation, you just think differently. So today I also have a guest. She is going to tell us about her story of abuse and how she is currently trying to get her life back on track step by step. Um, First, I would like to just define physical abuse. I read a good article, and it defined physical abuse as behaviors that physically harm, intimidate, manipulate, or control a partner or force them to behave in ways that they don't want to. The force comes in multiple ways: physical, emotional, or maybe even financial control. Because some individuals will use money to control you, whether you know that or not. So I think today I'm going to change up a little bit and start off with confession time. So I would like to introduce my guest, Libby.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So I hear you have a story for us that may help someone out there that's listening. So what I would like for you to do is just start from the beginning. Tell us how you two met.
That's a really weird story, but I actually had just gone through a divorce and was celebrating my divorce with a friend of mine. And he was walking down the side of the road, and I picked him up, and he went and hung out with us. And then he came back and asked if he could hang out again, and progressed, and eventually, after 2 or 3 months, he moved in with me. That was 11 years ago.
Okay, so what was it about a man walking on the side of the road, excuse me, that you decided to pick him up? Girl, what are you doing?
I know, and he's not the most safest looking person either. Tattoos on the face, he just looks the part.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know. I was angry about the divorce. I think I needed something in my life to fill that, and I think that's what it was. And he was a really nice guy who treated me well and made me feel like a princess in the beginning.
Okay, so let's fast forward to your first incident where he may have harmed you in some kind of way. Can you take us back to that day?
Yeah, we were living not where we are living now, but it was probably after we were together for about a year and a half, 2 years,
Mhm.
and we got into an argument, and he had been drinking, and he ended up scaring my children and I, and he didn't hit me, but he came at me and hit me accidentally with the keys. But I called the police, and they came, and he ended up staying in my house and locking himself in there, and the police had to kick down the door to get him out, and they arrested him. That was the first time he was arrested for assault on me. Um, then the next time was probably about year number 5. He had cheated on me behind my back, and his ex-wife showed up with a baby and said, "This is yours," and she took off. So he was mad at me because he cheated on me, if that makes any sense. And I took the baby in, and I raised her as my own. And we had problems for a while, but that's when I think everything really started to change little by little.
Okay, so let's go back. The first time he went to jail, you say you two got back together.
Oh yeah.
What made you at that point say, okay, well, even though, he hit you with the keys, why did you make the decision to have him back?
I don't know. I really don't know. I should have saw it then.
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't. He had this control over me. I blamed it, or I used the excuse of he was drunk. I was fighting too. It could have happened,
Mm-hmm.
could have happened the other way. I could have hit him, and that was my excuse
Okay.
to take him back.
Okay.
And then after the baby, we had just been living together, and he just, I don't know. It was just easier to stay at that point because it wasn't so bad, and now there was another child involved, so it felt like this. I needed to make it work because I felt bad for the baby,
Mm-hmm.
and he knew that. He used that against me quite a bit, and because the baby didn't have anybody, and if I would have thrown him out, the baby would have, what would have happened to the baby? So a lot of times that's why I stayed. Thinking I was doing the right thing. In the end, now I know it wasn't the right thing.
So at that point, when the baby got there, did, was he showing you signs of control, like where where you go,
He
who
always,
you talk to?
yes, I've lost several jobs because he has come up to my job and created a disturbance, several places. Yes, I couldn't go anywhere or do anything without him there. But he could go and do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also had all the kids, so I use that as an excuse. Also, I made excuses for him.
Mm-hmm.
He would treat me badly when we go out, and other people started to take notice
Mm-hmm.
and stopped hanging around us and stopped hanging around me, my good friends, because they just didn't want to be around it. So, but I just, I loved him. I really did. I loved him, and I don't know. I guess I thought I could fix him, or I would make it better. If I did something, he would be better and we'd be okay. Because we did have some good times in the beginning, and he was there for me. So I think I wanted that back. And I tried to get that back the whole time, and it was never coming back.
And that's common.
Right.
I experienced the same thing. We think we love these individuals, and we do,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't love ourselves enough to say, wait a minute, this person is hurting me, and I'm continuing to let this person hurt me. I don't know how to explain it, but that is the way I take it in now. You know,
Right.
it's not that I don't know. I can't even say that you could just walk out the door. We're going to get to that later because it's not that simple when you're dealing with someone like that.
Right. It is not.
But some people that don't understand will say, well, why didn't you just leave? It's not that simple when you have feelings for an individual.
Right. And
Or we go into the mother role of, oh, I can fix that person. But deep down, you really cannot fix anyone that does not want to be fixed. You
or
cannot
sees that he's wrong.
Yeah.
He's a narcissist. He's complete.
never take accountability
Right.
for their actions.
Right. And I should have seen it because everything that's ever happened to him or everything bad that happened was never his fault. And he had, it was always somebody else's fault. But I didn't see the signs. Now I see the signs and I know, and I look back and I'm like, why did I stay with him so long? What did I even see in him? He's not that great a person, and I feel sorry for the next person that he gets with because it's going to be worse.
Okay, so and what happened after? Okay, you got the baby. What was the next incident that escalated?
He had baby number 2 behind my back with the same person. And this time, baby number 2, she was pregnant, and she had came and said that, and I told him. He didn't want to tell me, but this time he told me. The other time he didn't tell me. And he said, please, I'm sorry. Can we work it out? And I said yes. And he ended up taking off and stealing my car and going to her and having the baby. And then I got both the babies while he went to jail because he stole my car. There was some incidences with my oldest daughter that were questionable at the time, and so I was happy he went to jail. I was glad. I was ready to leave him then.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to have anything to do with me. He hadn't talked to me, whatever. So I was, glad when he went to jail, and he was going to prison. And the day before he left for prison, after everything he had done, he called me, collect, and I answered the phone. And he was leaving in the morning from the jail to the prison, and I told him I'd wait for him. And I hadn't even talked to him in months, and he had done everything he'd done to me, and he went off to prison. And I was there for him while he was in prison for 2.5 years.
So what did he go to prison for?
Because
He stole the car.
he stole the car, and he had hit me again, and I had some bruises, but and somebody saw it and reported it. I didn't report it; somebody else did. But I just wanted my car back, so he went to jail for that. It's in there for it's stealing the car, but he also got assault charges, and he got him on probation, and then he took the car, and when he took the car, he had to go to prison for the rest of the sentence on the assault charges. So I was dumb, and I couldn't go see him.
Don't say dumb. You just didn't. You wasn't informed.
Right.
I mean, you didn't make.
I was blind.
You didn't make the best decisions.
Right.
But
Exactly.
you're here now,
I am.
and you've done a 90-degree turnaround. So don't ever call yourself dumb.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Not dumb. Just in love, following
Yeah.
heart. Wanting something so bad, and having a picture in your head, and trying to mold it into that, but you can't do it with the wrong person.
So at this point, please, you got 2 of his kids by his ex-wife.
Right.
Why didn't she come get her
'Cause-
kids?
Well, they have 13 together total, and
Let
they've
me
all
fall out this chair for a minute. How many kids?
yeah,
13?
13 with her, and they've all been taken by CPS, and these were the last 2. So I felt like I had to help him, and I was already attached to the first baby because I had her. She was like 5 by now. So I fought for him in court and fought for the babies in court, and got temporary custody of them and stuff like that. So it's
Do you 2 have any children?
No, we had no children.
So
Thank goodness.
your 2 kids are just
I have 3 children.
3?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
by their ex. They're by my ex-husband, and he was a bit abusive too, but psychologically abusive more than physical abusive.
So you
one-
went from one extreme to the next, like us all.
right.
Okay, so he goes to prison. You wait for him. During that time, what are you doing? Just raising your kids?
I'm sending him money daily, and I'm accepting $9, $10 collect calls 3 or 4 times a day. I just couldn't go see him because I was considered the victim, so they wouldn't let me up there. So he gets out of prison, or he's going to get out on parole, and he paroles to my house. I just moved from I just moved from where I was staying, and we moved back to be closer to my parents, and I just purchased a house and hadn't even been in there but 2 months, and he paroled to it. And when he got out, I tried to make everything easy for him. I found him a job, gave him a cell phone, and I guess that wasn't the right thing to do because he was okay at first. But then the stress from him not fighting or not working for very long, because he never kept a job very long because he had drank all the time, and the fact that now we are fighting for these babies permanently in the court system, put a lot of stress on us. I was basically paying for my 3 kids, and my daughter had a baby by now. She's 20 and she has 2, so I have 2 grandbabies. She had already had baby number 1, and I was helping her out. Then my 3 kids, him and his 2 kids, and fighting the court system. And I didn't have like a corporate grade job, you know. It was a struggle. It was a struggle.
So at that point, when did he, exhibit that behavior again? After what, about a year or so him being out, or
No, it
few
was
months?
probably about 6 months. And then he started drinking. He wouldn't keep a job. And he was going through because he had to go to court like every other week. And we were fighting for these kids. And it took about a year and a half to get these kids permanently to my house. And once they were permanently at my house and we were done with the CPS thing, then he really got bad. They were there for probably 3 or 4 months. And then the kids didn't want to be there anymore. They were scared of him. We were all scared of him. He turned into just an evil and mean and just a bully. He was a bully. We would come home daily and lock ourselves with his kids in my room and put the chair under the door because we didn't want him to come in. And he wouldn't even be coming in for anything. He'd just walk into the room just to curse us out and then walk out. It's just for no reason. he was just hated all of us. It felt like he hated all of us.
So he was an alcoholic,
He
and
was.
his violence or whatever was triggered by alcohol.
I think so at the beginning, but then it was just, it didn't matter if he drank or not. He was just mean. And he blamed me for everything. I mean, everything. He blamed me for everything that's ever bad happened in anybody's lives. And he started taking it out on my middle daughter because she started talking back to him. She used to be scared of him and she would hover down. And now she's 13 and she's fighting back, or not fighting back, but talking back and saying, "You're not going to talk to me like that. You're not going to talk to my mom like that. You can't do that." And he didn't like that. So he focused in on my youngest, which is my son, and tried to turn him against us and told him some horrible things. And he's at the age where he doesn't know what to believe, and he's also stuck in the middle because he loves, stepdad, but he also loves mom, and he don't know what to believe. And he was just all over the place, started getting in trouble, bad trouble at school. It affected all of us to the point where the school called me in and said, "We're calling CPS. So if you don't get him out of your house, then you're going to lose your kids." And so I had to get him out of my house. And I got him out of my house for about 2 months. And I let him back in again. And I don't know why. He just didn't have anywhere to go. And he used them kids as an excuse. So I let him back in this last time. And my kids begged me not to. They begged me not to. And I did anyway. And I said, "It'll be okay. It'll be okay. He's going to change. He promises he's going to get help." And they were upset with me. But he came back. And then it was the worst it had ever been. It got worse every time, but then it was really bad.
So what happened that? Oh, I don't have any kind of. I don't have any kind. So
Okay.
what happened this last time?
Um, I had switched jobs, and he didn't like the job I was working at. Of course, I was sleeping with everybody in the job. That's just what they do to belittle you and make you feel bad about yourself. When I wasn't doing anything wrong, and he came up there and he got banned from up there. And they called the cops on him, and then he was upset because he couldn't come up there. He wouldn't work because I wouldn't buy him another car, so he wouldn't work unless he took my car, and I had just got a brand new car, and I wouldn't let him use that car. So we had butted heads. He didn't want to work, or he'd work for a week or two and then not work. So I decided that I was done, and we needed to separate. And I told him, "Look, we can be civil. You need to find another place to live. I'm giving you this time because you do have the kids, and that's what's going to happen." And then he didn't like that idea either. He decided that he was going to take this house, and it was his house, and he was going to throw me out. He refused to leave. And then in March, for spring break, I let his kids go to the grandma's house. Her and I came to an agreement, and she didn't want him around the kids either. So she was going to try to go to court and get the kids. And I said, "I'll do whatever I can to help you." I gave her the kids for spring break, and then the kids never had to go back to school because of the corona. So they're still with her. And once he found out that they weren't coming back, I guess April started the big process of, "Okay, I'm not even going to let you be here civil. You have to get out of my house." And he said, "Make me. Make me. Call the cops. Make me." I called the cops. They came over. They wouldn't help me. They were called to my house probably 12 times, 13 times, and every time they didn't do anything. They told me that it's a verbal disagreement, and if I'm arguing back, then he's not doing anything wrong. I said, "Okay." They said, "So the lady told me your best bet is not to argue back." So I stopped arguing back, and I started recording him. And every day we come in, and he would just start in on me and just be mean to me. He destroyed my house, completely destroyed my house. Called the cops, and they came out, and they were like tired of coming to my house every time they get the call. We know. They came out to my house, and I'm standing there, and he's destroying my house, and you can hear it from the driveway. And the cop said, I'm not going in there. That's and we can't, that's his right because he lives there. I said, it's my house. He doesn't have a bill. He doesn't work. He doesn't do anything. It's my house. And he said he has rights. Go through the eviction process. So I told him I was going to evict him, and that made him mad. And he went through something to try to get my house, and he's got squatter rights or something. I don't know, but he refused to leave. There was times when we had to actually leave in the middle of the night because I had to work the next morning and I needed sleep, and he wasn't letting us sleep. He wouldn't. He would just make sure. He was loud, beating on the door, standing at the door for hours, just calling us names, telling my 15-year-old he's going to have her raped, and just, she doesn't need to hear all that stuff. And we recorded it all, took it to the police. They said it's not enough. He has to do something. So he finally did. It took a long time. We had been trying to get him out since about March, and he finally got arrested on July 28th. So, but he didn't get in that much trouble for anything that he had done. He put his hands on me pretty bad, pretty bad.
Is that the picture?
Yeah.
You want to show the picture of what he done?
Yeah.
You
sure.
can. When you're in that type of situation, and you have just such a caring heart, it's hard to turn that on and off. And I know for people that don't really understand, this is a picture of her face that, as you can see, yeah, he and he did that to you because you wanted him to leave. You no longer wanted the relationship. Did he ever threaten your life?
Always, every day. We recorded it. He threatened my life. He threatened my elderly parents' life. My mom. My mom. I was adopted, but my real mom had a confrontation with him, and she beat him with a baseball bat because he was jumping on me and the kids and choked me until I passed out in the car while I was driving. So she beat him with a baseball bat, pretty bad.
And he didn't get charged with the felony for choking you?
No, he did not. He did get arrested, and she didn't. But it was in the other small town and politics, and it was a misdemeanor. But yeah. So, and my mom didn't get in trouble for beating him. He has a scar on his face from her, and every time we got into an argument, he'd bring that up too. But yeah, she wasn't playing around.
Mama wasn't playing. I
No,
need to get
she
with Mama
wasn't.
in that bat.
Yeah, she is,
I'll
and
teach you.
yeah, and she would always say, "Call me, and I'll talk to him." And she was the one that finally helped me at the very end. She came down and she talked to the judge and said, "Look, this is what needs to happen, and you need to help my daughter." So I think she ultimately was one of the ones that finally got the system to help me because I felt so helpless. I was in a situation, and I didn't have the problem of, which a lot of people do have the problem of, they can't leave financially.
Yes.
I was the one that I had money, but he wouldn't physically leave, and no one could get him out. And I had friends that would say, "Oh, I can get him out. Oh, I'll make him leave," but they can't be with me 24 hours a day. They can't protect me 24 hours a day. So you may get him to leave at the moment, but what's going to happen when that person goes to work? How are you you can't stay with me 24 hours a day. So I didn't go that route because I knew that we wouldn't be safe, and it would just make him angrier.
So were you like walking on eggshells?
Absolutely.
I better go home from work. I better do this, this, and this. If I don't, then I know what's going to happen.
Right. And that was at the point after we broke up. I was still doing that.
Yes.
Just to keep the peace in the house so that, or try to, and it didn't work. We would not come home. We would, and we would, or I would make sure that we did everything the way he would want or we thought, and so that it wouldn't set him off, especially if he came home and he had been drinking because he'd been home all day. And I used to have to let my kids, because I worked, and they had to get off the bus and they had to be there with them for a couple of hours a day. And that was really scary for me and them. It was bad, but I had to work. I couldn't, there was nothing I could do. And so that scared me and scared us a lot. That was a really hard time for me during that time.
So You couldn't just move like to another house or
I bought the house. It's my house. I can't.
yeah.
It's hard to move. You know, you can't just pick up. It's not like I had the unlimited amount of money.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, when my dad was alive, I did, but after my dad died, I was
Yes.
living paycheck to paycheck,
Yes.
and the house it's my house. I can't just move. Or yeah, we would have.
Yeah. I guess in my situation, I was stalked by this individual. Um, he did put a gun to my head, but when he pulled the trigger, the gun clicked. And I felt like that was God's way of saying it wasn't my time to go yet. My
Right.
kids were like maybe 1 and 2. And I just remember driving off, and I can always remember my